The Galactic Council's emergency session had been called for the first time in 3 centuries. Ambassador Velthar of the Kryn Dominion stood before the assembled representatives, his crystalline form refracting the chamber's ambient light into nervous patterns across the walls. "The human ship has returned," he announced, and the chamber erupted into chaos. It had been 47 standard years since the exploration vessel Endeavour had vanished into the void, that terrible expanse of space where physics bent, time fractured, and entire civilizations had disappeared without trace. The void was death itself, a cosmic wound in reality that consumed everything foolish enough to venture close. In 12,000 years of spacefaring history, nothing had ever returned from its depths. Until now. "Impossible," hissed Commander Zixril, her serpentine body coiling tighter. "Nothing survives the void. Nothing returns." "And yet," Velthar continued, his voice trembling, "they have. But that's not why I called this emergency session." He activated the holographic display and every being in the chamber fell silent. Where one small human vessel should have emerged, there were thousands. Ships of impossible design filled the view screen, sleek warships that seemed to phase in and out of normal space, carriers whose hulls appeared to be constructed from solidified starlight, and at the center, a dreadnought so massive it bent light around itself like a miniature black hole. "How many?" someone whispered. 13,417 vessels, Velthar replied. Each one broadcasting human identification codes. Each one crewed, and leading them is the Endeavour, or what remains of it. We've received a transmission requesting docking permission at Nexus Station. There's only one human aboard the original ship. The viewing screen shifted to show a grainy image of a woman, her hair streaked with premature gray, her eyes carrying the weight of decades that hadn't passed in normal space. According to the Endeavour's logs, Dr. Sarah Chen had been 32 when she entered the void. She looked 60 now, though only 47 standard years had elapsed outside. "Play the transmission," ordered High Arbiter Quan, the eldest member of the council. Sarah Chen's voice filled the chamber, steady despite the impossible burden it carried. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen of the human exploration vessel Endeavour to Galactic Council Control. I'm requesting permission to dock and address the council. I bring news of what lies within the void, and I bring friends who shouldn't exist. Give me 1 hour of your time. After that, if you want us to leave, we will." The council had granted her request, of course. How could they not? Now Sarah stood before them, wearing a uniform that seemed to shimmer with subtle distortions, as if it existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. She looked tired, ancient in ways that transcended mere physical age. "When the Endeavour entered the void," she began, "we expected to die. Every species that's approached it has vanished. We wanted to know why. We wanted to understand." She smiled grimly. "Humans have never been good at accepting mysteries. The void isn't empty. It's a pocket dimension, a space where time flows differently and the laws of physics are negotiable. We didn't die immediately, which surprised us. Our ship was falling apart, but we had days, not seconds. I was the only survivor when we finally crashed on something solid, a structure floating in that impossible darkness." She paused, and the chamber remained utterly silent. "I found others there, not aliens as you'd understand them. These were the descendants of every species that had ever entered the void over millions of years. They'd survived. They'd adapted. They'd built a civilization in that twisted space, learning to manipulate its strange physics, waiting for someone, anyone who might help them return home." "Impossible," Zixril interrupted. "No biological entity could survive." "You're right," Sarah cut her off. "They couldn't, not at first. But life adapts. Over generations, over millennia, they changed. They evolved. They became something new, beings who could exist in the void's twisted reality. But they remembered. They remembered the real universe. They remembered home." She activated her own display, showing images that made several council members recoil. Creatures that defied description moved through impossible geometries, cities that existed in 4 dimensions, technology that seemed to operate on principles that violated causality itself. I lived among them for what felt like 300 years, though only 47 passed outside. They taught me everything they'd learned: how to bend space, how to fold time, how to build ships that could exist in multiple realities simultaneously. And in return, I gave them something they'd lost: hope. A path home. The fleet, Velthar whispered. The fleet, Sarah confirmed. 13,000 ships crewed by beings descended from every race that ever entered the void. Kryn, Zephan Vortani, species whose names you've forgotten. Species that vanished before you achieved spaceflight. They want to come home. They want to rejoin the galaxy, and they've given humanity the technology to make it possible. The implications crashed through the chamber like a shockwave. A human, a single human, had done what no species had accomplished in galactic history. She'd survived the void. She'd thrived there. She'd befriended the descendants of the lost and returned with technology millennia, beyond anything the Council possessed. High Arbiter Quan leaned forward. What do you want, Dr. Chen? Sarah's expression softened. Permission for them to return. Help reintegrating them. Some of these beings are descended from your own people's lost expeditions. They deserve to come home, she paused. And I want the void closed permanently. I know how to do it now. No one else should have to fall into that darkness. And if we refuse? Someone asked. Sarah's eyes hardened. Then we'll do it anyway. But I'd prefer to do this with the Council's blessing. Humanity learned something in the void. Something I think you need to understand. We don't abandon people. Not our own, not anyone. Ever. We went looking for answers in the dark and we found family instead. She gestured to the fleet visible through the chamber's observation ports. These ships, this technology, these people, they're not a threat. They're a gift. The void tried to swallow us. Instead, we swallowed it. That's what humans do. We turn nightmares into hope. The vote took 6 hours. In the end, it was unanimous. The lost were coming home, and they were bringing humanity with them into a new age. The species that had barely reached the stars had ventured into the abyss and returned with the keys to reality itself. And at the center of it all stood one woman who'd refused to give up, refused to die, refused to accept that the darkness had won. Because that's what humans did. They survived. They adapted. They came back stronger. They always came back.